The Stuttgart Regional Championships just wrapped up, and today we're going to be looking at the finals of the event and watching it together. My name is Rahul. We're going to be doing a competitive analysis together, and we're going to look at the two finalist decks ahead of time so we get a little bit more competitive analysis. We have Alexander's deck here, which is Dragapult, Dusknoir, a deck you might be very familiar with. Not a lot of nuance to a lot of these lists. The list is 443 Dragapult, which is very consistently standard in a lot of these lists. 221 Dusknoir also standard, a Halucha, a Monkey, 2 Badoo, Fez, Latias, and Ursaluna. This package is pretty much the same across the board. 4 Lilies, 4 Iono, and 3 Boss make up our core supporters with 2 Hilda and a Turo to make sure that we can get out of some retreat lock and some incredibly weird scenarios. 4 Buddy Buddy Puffin, 4 Ultra Ball, 3 Counter Catcher, a Nest Ball, and 2 Night Stretcher make up our trainer core, along with the energies being 3 Luminous, 2 Psychic, a Fire, a New Upper, and 2 Jamming. So nothing has changed from the last format, but this is the first format that Phantasmal is legal. We see the first Phantasmal card here with the Charmander and the Charmeleon in Nikolai's list. He was playing Charizard, Noctowl, Pidgeot, Dusknoir, Terapagos. So there's a lot going on in this list, but ideally it's to make use of the new supporter card that has been released in this Phantasmal Flames expansion, Dawn, which searches your deck for a basic Stage 1 and a Stage 2 Pokemon, and you put them into your hand. Now, basically the idea of this deck is we've got the 3-1-2 Charizard with 3-3 Noctowl, 2-2 Pidgeot, 2-1-1 Dusknoir, 2 Terapagos, 2 Fanrodon, Pheasantipity, Klefki. You basically just want to kind of get up and running, and you're like basically conceding to Dragapult with a list like this. Like Dragapult is one of the hardest matchups for you, just because you can't really get up and running with the Charizard under item block very easily because you only have one Charmeleon. There's no TM Evos, nothing to actually power you up. You have to kind of dawn up through the Noctowl into the like you have no Pidgeotto as well, so you can't get into Pidgeot easily. And so the whole idea is you have one way to get into Charizard in the Dragapult matchup, but every other matchup you can aggressively race onto the board. You have 4 rare candies. You can pop their board super aggressively. You have the Briar. You have the Prime Catcher. You have all these plays you can make with the Area Zero as well to go wide on your board and then clean up some of those things you don't want on your board later when the stadium gets bumped. So it's a very interesting 2 decks that are faced in front of us. We have a finals ahead of us. And remember, guys, if you guys enjoy this kind of content, please like and subscribe. We have 30 days of Christmas content coming for you. Let's jump into it here. I think I put it in 2x. Let me just double check. Alexander here on the left, he has made now his second finals this season. Let's check the prize cards real quick before we jump in. We see a Latias, a Fez. Quite important cards here for Alexander because he can't retreat into the Badoo as easily on turn 1. With the Dracloak as well, 1 Dracloak, 1 Dragapult, Hilda, and a Psychic. So actually pretty impactful prize cards. On the right, Nikolai has one of his Charizards, one of his Fires, and a Prime Catcher, all important targets. These two don't really matter too much. The big thing is that there's no Charmeleon in here, so Nikolai can go through and get his Charizard up and running through all that. A Badoo opening here. Both players do want to go second, so the Charizard player here is being forced to go first. The hand is not like super optimal. We're going to go ahead and just attach and probably pass it over. We're going to have to see, the Badoo opening is really, really good here. We're looking for anything here from Alexander. We're going to see the boss to bring up the Duskull, the attach, and the pass, saying that I'm going to have to Badoo you here, and if you have game, you have game. If he has Dusclops plus a way to Dusclops plus a way to knock out this Duskull, we can win the game, but Dawn only gets one of those 2 pieces. Dawn here grabbing us. The 4 Dawn does mean that it's going to be the most played supporter here for us. No turn 1 Fanrota means that we don't have any of those Noctowl engines ready to go piece together for us. We're going to get the Charmeleon here. We're going to get the Charizard here. And we're going to opt to not get anything else past those 2. And the Hoot Hoot. That's a good trio. I think the Hoot Hoot is one of the perfect cards. You have no Dreepy on the board, nothing that's actually threatening you here. The new Charmeleon hitting the board that does 40 for 1, which does give you a knockout on the Badoo, which is kind of funny if you want it that way. We're going to go and do this. We're going to go ahead and attach, retreat, and we're just going to knock it out. Looks like for the turn with the Charmeleon, putting a lot of pressure on actually. And now Alexander needs to do something. He does top deck into the Iono, which is actually quite a good card. We can stretch her back to the Badoo, retreat into the Badoo, and go into the Iono, which it might be the actual play. There is a Dusclops in hand as well, so we're going to need to find some Dreepies here. We now know that one of Nikolai's Charizards did go to the bottom of the deck, and the other one is in the prize cards. So this Badoo might make it a little bit harder to find, but there is a ton of Dawn cards to get to where we need to be. The Charmeleon not being prized actually gives you a ton of agency here. We're going to see the Ultra Ball here, grabbing a second Dreepy. Alexander doing a quick prize check. Let's skip ahead a little bit. We're just going to see him probably grab a Dreepy here. He needs a Dreepy. He's got a second Dreepy in hand, but now he's already a couple turns behind. He's going to give up a second prize card here on the board without even wanting to a Charizard even, potentially. And now the Charizard player gets to actually establish the board. Sure, they only have one Charizard to work with, but if Nikolai finds his way into the Dusknoir engine, then he can also pick away at Alexander's board, and one fortuitous boss's orders later, he could be in a very commanding position. Now we're just going to see how Alexander approaches this. I think it has to be the Dreepy. I don't think you can take the Fez here. I think that's way too greedy. Looks like he's eyeing up a second Badoo just to have it on the board because he knows this one's going to get knocked out. But then you're committing all into one Dreepy, and if Nikolai has Charizard plus Boss, then the game just ends. So he is going to go for the second Badoo, just committing all into the second Badoo strategy, just like saying, hey, I'm going to have to play slow. These Dreepies have to carry me through the game. I'm going to be giving up another prize card right here. I can't afford to retreat. Latias is prized. I won't be able to go into that play. So what can we do? We're just going to go ahead and Ichipollen once again. Most likely, Nikolai has a ton of Dawns to work with. He's going to go ahead and Dawn, just get the Charizard here, most likely. Most likely grab the Dusknoir and probably a Pidgey, just go ahead and start getting established. Because you have one extra turn now to actually do what you want to do, and we know that Alexander doesn't play any copies of Rare Candy. So we're going to go ahead and see the Dusknoir hitting the board. We see the Pidgey hitting the board, and a Charmander hitting the board. A pretty good set of cards, actually, if you are Nikolai, because now the next Dawn can get you into Dusknoir, which then means that because there's only one Droopy on the board, all you need is either a Dawn to go into this, or you can go Dusknoir, clean up one of the Dreepies or Cloaks, and then boss the other one if you find those cards in a fortuitous manner. You do have access to Noctowl for the following turn if you want that. We're just going to take the knockout here. The 10 damage should be back on the Dusknoir. There we go. Yep, it's fixed. We're going to take the card. So there's an Iono, and there is the Neo Upper energy already given onto the board. So a Dawn is all it takes to wipe this Neo Upper off the board. If the Neo Upper is taken off the board, we know that Alexander can't find his way into a reasonable attack in the upcoming turn. We're going to see the Ultra Ball grabbing the Cloak. You kind of need to. We're in just like such a tough spot. We're going to see the Nest Ball as well here. Nest Ball for Fez would have been excellent as well here. Just not an option for us here as Alexander. You need a lot of pieces. You need a CC at the very minimum. Probably bring up this. I don't even know what you bring up here. Probably the other Charmander. Just kind of bank on them not having as many energies. We're going to see two cards here. Alexander having a not the best. There's a Dusknoir here. We're going to be able to go into the Dusknoir if we want, but it's Ichipollen for 20. We're going to go ahead and see the Noctowl getting us whatever we want in this situation. Noctowl for boss onto this Dracloak is actually super reasonable. If we just boss up the Dracloak and take it off the board, there's no threat from Alexander on the following turn. We're going to be just able to put ourselves in a really good spot. But we can also just get the Dusknoir here. And put ourselves in a super good spot. So I think what Nikolai is thinking about is, do I get the Dawn for next turn as well? So I think he is. He's getting the boss plus the Dawn. So next turn he can have the access to Dawn, or he's going to Dawn this turn. Yeah, he's going to Dawn this turn for the Dusknoir, another Noctowl piece engine. Actually, a very, very consistently smooth engine, as you can see. This matchup is Nikolai's worst, and he has found himself in a spot where he's just going to go ahead and blow up this attacker. We're going to go ahead and have another Hoot hit the board, so we can get another Noctowl if we want to. It can be Iono to the bottom of the deck now. But Nikolai is down to 2 prize cards. Alexander has one, nothing really left to do. He can go into an Ursaluna if he wants to, but will it even do enough? We're going to go ahead and pop it onto the, probably the Hoot. I think you have to take the Hoot off the board. We're going to go ahead and Lily's Determination. We're going to actually put it on the active here. There is no Iono to go along with this. 8 new cards are coming through. You basically have to hope that you have to take out the active. You know there's a boss's orders in the hand, plus a Noctowl. You're saying, hey, you maybe don't have a Terra Pokemon to work with. Alexander did not take a prize card. The graphic is incorrect here. But did he? Oh, because Nikolai popped. Yep. That's on me. I forgot about that with the Duster Engine. We're gonna get some Dreepies down, but there's the knockout here. And all Nikolai needs is access to a boss's orders plus a Charizard here. And we're gonna go ahead and see a ton of cards coming out. Nest Ball for Terrapagos, also an option here. Nest Ball for Terrapagos, getting us the Terra we need into play. Noctowl. We don't even need all that. Like we could just, yeah, we could just do this. Noctowl grabbing us Stadium for the Fan Rotom that's in the hand, and Rare Candy for Pidgeot. We're gonna go ahead and Rare Candy for the Pidgeot. We're gonna go ahead and Fan Rotom, Energy, Boss here, and take the first game. A little bit of an unfortunate brick from Alexander. You saw as soon as he got the board rolling, he actually could have put himself in a really good spot. This matchup is very tough for Nikolai, so he did play that pretty expertly, kind of just putting himself in a spot to keep using those Dawns, keep the bosses in deck, especially because the bosses are very valuable towards the end of the game, as you saw here with Nikolai, and he was actually able to establish a Pidgeot towards the end of the game, which doesn't typically happen in this matchup. Actually very difficult to do, as you saw, there's no Pidgeotto. So under this Badoo item lock, you can't really establish that. But Nikolai drew just well enough because those Dawns facilitate the other pieces of the deck, and because the Charmeleon wasn't prized, he was actually able to get into a position where he found every single piece that he needed. Nikolai up 1 game, but it's still a very uphill battle with Alexander having the potential to basically just pop off with this Dragapult deck, and the early Badoos can really just put Nikolai in a very tough spot to play the game. So let's see how this game pans out. We're going to see another Dawn in the hand, a mulligan over here from Nikolai, it looks like. Alexander going ahead and setting up Yep, Alex gonna go ahead and setting up. No idea what we have on his hand right now. The Fez open up Fan Rotom as well. Fan Rotom is quite good because Nikolai is going to be forced to go first almost certainly. And being able to go Fan Rotom opener into, yep, there's 2 fires prized here. A little bit of a scary proposition because if the fires are prized, then it is. Oh, okay. I think Alexander did choose to go first. I think Nikolai won the flip and went first game 1 because he has a Noctowl deck. No, never mind. I'm trolling. Yeah, I was like, okay, all right. We're on the same page. Everyone's on the same page. I was like, wait, because I saw Alexander like moving around some cards, whatever. Yeah, okay. We have the Ultra Ball getting us a piece here. We're gonna be able to get the Fan Rotom as well to get some pieces into play. So I think realistically, you might have to grab your Terra Pokemon off the rip here, just because like you could just get item locked here and not have a great chance to find your Terra Pokemon if you don't have a Terra Pokemon already available to you. As Nikolai, but he can just be the Charizard deck if he wants to. I think he's just going to play as the Charizard deck this game. Getting these 3, getting the Pidgey, the Hoot Hoot, and we're going to go ahead and look at the hand. It's got a Candy Pidgeot, it's got a Dawn in hand. Alexander opening the Latias does mean that he's in a very good position to just basically go to the Badoo if he has any form of search, which he does have. So a Badoo plus Dreepy is like the most natural conclusion of cards here to grab. But I don't know if the rest of the card hand has anything actually in it, if there's any gas. Alexander going to go ahead and prize check. We'll just skip ahead a little bit. We're going to see what's in the hand. What does he have? Do I see a supporter card? Can he actually come out of this? If you can go into a Badoo and a Fan Rotom actually set up, it's not even that scary that the Fan Rotom is in the active because Nikolai needs an energy plus a stadium. And he doesn't have a Terra Pokemon in play right now, so he can't actually establish that all at once. Now, there is a Dawn in Nikolai's hand, so he can start grabbing those pieces and actually getting the Charizard line into his hand preemptively. But yeah, we're going to go ahead and continue the Puffin here. We're going to go grab ourselves a Dusknoir here, saying the 1 Droopy in our hand is like more than enough, which I think is completely fine because Nikolai needs a lot of pieces actually to attack here. And we saw there was no attachment on turn 1 either, which is completely fine. Because you might want to retreat as Nikolai, so you might just keep that option open to yourself as long as there's like a boss, if there's a boss Badoo or something, just like last game. And I don't know, 2 energy being prized is also not the most ideal for Nikolai. Skip it a little bit. We're gonna get the Badoo into play. We're gonna attach. We're gonna go ahead and Itchy Paw. And there was the boss's orders, like we predicted here. There is the Pidgey in the active now. The Dawn can help out in this situation, but a Terapagos in the hand. Where do you top deck the Terapagos? I actually don't know. We're gonna go ahead and Dawn up our cards here. There's a Charmeleon in the deck, which is quite good to get ourselves up and running. And a second Hoot Hoot would also be quite good here in the situation. And I don't know, you can't put a second Zard in your hand. I think it's like the toughest thing because if you put a second Zard in your hand, it's like fairly obvious that we have it. We're gonna get Charmander, Charmeleon, Dusknoir. It looks like so Charmander and the Charmeleon evolve, and it looks like it's just a probably pass from us. His hand is like pretty unplayable. You can go into the Noctowl if you want to, but you don't have to. It just doesn't make any sense to do so right now, especially because you're not actually doing anything with your turn. So we're gonna go ahead and knock out the Pidgey here. Just take that off the board. Charmeleon moving into the active. Both players taking a prize card here. Alexander needing a lot of cool pieces to like get the ball rolling here, but now this Charmeleon has been kind of unlocked and moved into the active spot, but otherwise it didn't have that ability. We're just going to Itchy Paw. No supporter from Alexander here. Another supporterless game here. Charizard hitting the board, and we know he has the Noctowl in his hand. So if he goes for the Noctowl, then the boss's orders is imminent. The boss's orders taking out the Dreepy, also quite strong here. You don't have to take it out this turn. You can wait for it to become a cloak. This turn you can just get a boss and you can get the Dawn, and you can Dawn yourself the Dusknoir line here. There's the 2 fires. You don't even have to use like attach the Terapagos as well. That's all of our fire energies are dedicated now. There's a jet in hand as well, so we can jet up the Terapagos if we want to. Here I would just grab Dawn plus boss, I think, most likely as Nikolai, because even if Iona, you're like fine with it, or the double boss is fine too. All right, cool. I mean, we can just take 2 on the Latias, I guess, or we're just taking the Dreepy. Yep, that's completely fine. Putting ourselves in a spot where now our opponent needs to actually answer, and we saw that their hand is completely dead. So we're going to just take this off the board, and if our opponent goes into like Fez or something, we can just take the Fez off the board and put ourselves in an even better spot. Nikolai getting the Stretcher, going into the Badoo and just attaching it. We know there's a boss in hand. Duskull off the top, that's actually really good because now we can start establishing some threat presence. I wouldn't even use the, okay, we're going to use a boss preemptively because now I guess Nikolai is saying, hey, I'm going to go down to 3 prize cards. Alexander is going to have to give me something here. And everything that can even potentially hit the active spot can't even be played. There is an Iono. We see the jamming. We see an Iono. Okay, so there is a play we can make here. We can stick Nikolai if we get a counter catcher plus the Badoo. There is a counter catcher. There's a Dreepy. So we can start piecing together some of these pieces, get the Noctowl into the active. We know that all the energy is already accounted for besides the prize cards that Nikolai did take. And we know Jet went to the bottom of the deck. So how can we get out of the situation? There's another Dawn here. The Dawn can just take the Dusclops prize here on the, like, Dawn can go get Dusklops Dusknoir, which is even scarier here, and we can shuffle up the deck, because now we can go Dusklops Dusknoir. The prize on the Badoo still stays on the board, but now we can just say, hey, we're grabbing these two pieces, and we'll just grab a basic that we don't want in our hand for the next turn. And if we can get that, it's just like, well, at some point you're going to evolve into, I'm going to go into Dusclops here, you're going to have to Iono me again, and if you go into Dracloak next turn, this Dracloak is going to leave the board, like, instantly. Like, there's just no chance it's going to be on the board. And while Nikolai doesn't have a lot going for him, Alexander has literally nothing going for him. So a very tragic tale. We're just going to take the Badoo off the board. Drippy hitting the active, saying, hey, if you find an energy card, you don't win the game immediately. Nikolai does get the energy card off the prize cards. He did have 2 energy prize, and I think he knew that his odds were pretty good of hitting it. There's the attack here, taking out the Drippy. What can Alexander even do? And Iono coming through with the Drippy. He needs an Ursaluna here, and he needs Nikolai to not have literally anything so he can Turo. We're going to go ahead and Dracloak. That Drippy came down this turn. That Drippy came down this turn. We can't do that. Yeah, there was no Drippy at the start of this turn, so this Dracloak can't even happen, which is a double prize penalty, I believe, so it's going to end the game anyway. We're going to go ahead and just slam the Dracloak and go for it very quickly, but we can't even do that. Yeah, we can't even do that. Yeah, that's just a double prize penalty, and Nikolai ends up winning. But I don't think there's anything we could have done anyway. Yeah, looks like a judge coming in. And there is the concession. Looks like the invite is locked up for Nikolai. The win. An unlikely matchup, an unlikely win. The camera angle just got really blurry for some reason. But Nikolai is our Stuttgart regional champion with a very, very unique Charizard list. Congratulations to Nikolai. If you guys enjoyed this kind of content, let me know in the comments down below. And I will continue to do more analysis of regional finals or older games or tournaments. Let me know in the comments what you think is an exciting game that I can commentate. I have a couple already on the channel, so check it out. Peace out and have a great time, guys.